Hello, this is Jay. This was not going to be a 2023 reading master plan video. This was going to be a screed against these vile, horrible, judgy things that are looking down upon me, and the judgments are not very kind. Yeah, it was going to be that kind of a video. But then as I started thinking about it and I did a little bit of self-examination, I realized that no, no, calm down, Jay. This is you thinking about your reading in 2023 and sort of reconciling yourself of your limitations in contrast to some of the mutants that are here on BookTube. I will put a little playlist of a variety of master plans and people talking about their reading styles, both MJ at Reading This Life and Criminali did really great kind of contrasting reading style videos of Criminali being very organized, very much lists, whereas MJ is very much kind of, hey, relax, let's do a just mood read, just pick what you want when you want it. I have 2,000 books in my house, they're all my TBR. And it was, interesting with Criminali very much going, yeah, but me making a list actually helps me reduce my stress. For me, that's for me. But it just, okay, there are different ways of doing things. So I thought, okay, I'll do a little bit of self-examination to start off with, because I'm really like, there's a part of me that just like, oh, screw all these read-alongs and events that's controlling my life. I don't want to be controlled. I gotta be free. But when I actually looked and what I'm reading and what the vague foggy plans that I do have, I have to admit, no, it's not really that clear cut, and I actually do benefit from some of these read-alongs. Indeed, I am participating in a couple of them in a stealth fashion. So, yes, I mean, start off with like, what am I reading? Well, I'm in the process, a kind of a multi-year now process of reading Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William L. Shirer, 1960s book by American journalist and historian who was actually present for the events of World War II and the rise of the Nazis beforehand. And I'm reading this in chunks. I read kind of like a couple of sections, and then I have to put it down, and I'll read some other things. I'll just kind of pick various things, fantasy books or usually fiction to kind of salt in between that. So I've been doing that. And then there's the project of Orlando Furioso by Aristo Ludvigo, published in somewhere like 1515. I'm reading the Barbara Reynolds translation, which is like 1977, which I'm reading because of Tom LA Books, who's been doing a read along of the work, kind of canto by canto. He seems to have taken a bit of a pause. I haven't investigated it enough. I finished book one, so I'm well ahead of him there, at least, well, 4 or 5 cantos ahead of him, because he hasn't quite finished that book. I don't know if he's going on, but regardless, I will at some point, I'm going to spit out a video of a little bit about Orlando Furioso, the first part, and then I'm just going to start reading the second part as by myself, or I have a tendency to just kind of wander off on my own and do stuff. That's probably one of the reasons I'm bad with these read-alongs. I have a tendency to just kind of go at my own speed, and usually I'm not ahead, but usually go at my own speed and kind of go off in my own head. Oftentimes kind of circling back to hear what other people have said and go, oh, I never thought about that. That's really valuable. It's quite nice when you can get other perspectives, because it can really open up a book. So there's that. I've picked up yet again another this is a book club thing. Steve Donahue is going to be starting a read of A Distant Mirror, The Calamitous 14th Century by Barbara Tuchman, which is a book all about the calamitous 14th century in Europe, and I'm reading it because of that caught my interest because I've been reading Orlando Furioso, which is it's admittedly the next century, but there's so much kind of like the mindset and the assumptions. It's like it is really a different place and a different kind of thought process. I've read that, reading Don Quixote, and then reading a lot of the books that were in Don Quixote's library, kind of all the kind of books of chivalry and stuff like that. It's like, okay, I really want to understand this. And Steve is really great at picking out books that are warm and approachable and readable. I was at one point I was tempted to specialize in history in university, but all the academic books on history were so vile in their writing style, so antithetical to actually wanting to sit down and read, that I went, no, I'll go over here to English, and fame and fortune thus followed me. Uh, so when Steve says, "Oh, here's a book that is actually really readable on this topic," I took notice because it was a topic that I was interested in. So I have actually started that already because Steve is planning to read it in a month, and I've been reading it for about a week now, and I've got through about 8%. So it will be a very, very loose. I'll be dipping in and out of whatever he does. I'm not quite sure what a book club is versus a read along. I have a I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see that way. It may be a month or two before I can actually touch back down and see what the result was. I'll have to go back and look at the videos then. But that is what I've been. That's kind of like stuff that's going to stretch out. I know is going to stretch out, especially Orlando Furioso, because I'm reading the cantos out loud, and I know it's just going to take me forever, which I'm okay with. I like reading stuff slowly, which, that's the thing with me and BookTube is there are so many events in BookTube that if I decide to participate in an event in a month and actually try and keep up, that is my entire month. That takes up all my reading. And early in being in BookTube, I was very enthusiastic, and I had a year or so there where I was just that's all I was doing was BookTube reading. If you want to put it that way, I was allowing BookTube to steer my reading, and that that only worked for about a year, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the fact that I couldn't. I felt like I couldn't go off and just do my own reading, and that's really important to me. This isn't, obviously I'm not doing this professionally. Can you tell? But I need to find stuff that's calling to me right now, that is going to sustain me, that is going to kind of meet wherever I am emotionally at this point, and I really need that. And having structure, well, that's school, and school is the last place you want to read. Well, for actually, I can't say that. There's been some of my most amazing reading experiences were especially gifted professors in university, but previous to that, school was not the place to actually read and find fellow readers. Not too many fellow readers in school, it seemed, or again, it's one of those things of being mandated to have to read something, and it being approved as the good medicine for you, which is like, well, screw that stuff. So yes, there's my ongoing reads. I also get audiobooks from the library. I find that is actually kind of a fun, kind of a mood thing. It's like, oh, what's available now? Sometimes I put stuff on hold and it'll pop up, and it's like that's actually exposed me to a lot of books that I might not necessarily have taken a chance on. So that's been a fun way of kind of just a little bit of that random chance chaoticness that I kind of enjoy in my thing. And yeah, I also read stuff out loud daily, whether that's books or poems. Poems are usually my kind of break thing in between doing books. Find a lot of stuff on Project Gutenberg, which is probably why I will dip into Michael K. Vaughan. See, this is again, I'm against read-alongs, but then it's like, oh, Michael K. Vaughan is hosting this thing, Roger's Cheap Old Book Club, where he's all his reading selections are from Project Gutenberg, which I really love, and I found things that I can read out loud, which has been which has been a lot of fun to do. I've been That whole thing of just reading a book out loud is a completely different experience than just reading silently to yourself. So that is always fun, and it's an interesting muscle to develop, because at the beginning of doing that was like, oh, this is tough. But as I gone on, I can feel that kind of, that whatever that muscle is has developed, and I can do that. I can do it fairly easily for a half an hour, usually only a half an hour. I don't have that much time in a day, but it's like, oh, okay, this is something fun to do. So, other than those few things, God, it starts adding up. This is the thing. It's like you commit to just one thing, and then, oh, you just commit to another thing, and then suddenly you have no time for yourself. And I really try and jealously guard my own time. I mean, the way the A Distant Mirror, the calamitous 14th century, why I can justify that is like, oh, that is an interest. That strikes my mood. So that is personal reading for me. It's not Steve, the tyrant Steve Donahue, telling me what I can read or not. It's like, oh no, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds cool, and I'll do that. And it's like, I'm quite happy. I think the other thing, probably for me, if I'm going like, for me, way out is Shake Timber, where I will invariably I will read like at least one poem, one play of Shakespeare, because I really like going back and reading Shakespeare, and it's an excellent excuse to again indulge that interest in myself. I mean, I guess that's the big thing with all these booktube events. If you're looking for a way to survive it but not feel like you're being taken over by it, is to just it's there's so many, is to pick and choose. And I was like, oh, that aligns with what my interest is right now, or oh, I feel like something trashy, so I'm going to do Garb August because I feel like something trashy this month. And if I don't feel like something trashy, if I'm in a high literature mood, then maybe I would skip it this year. But that sort of thing is definitely a way to survive booktube. If you're someone like me who God, I think Criminology was saying that he reads about 5 to 6,000 words, not words, 5 to 6,000 pages in a month. And not to shame Criminology, I'm not shaming you, but I am a normal person, and I read, well, this is what I think is normal, a normal person, and I read maybe 5 to 600 pages in a month. So if you're like me, or lower, or even like twice that, you might want to, and you don't have that space to just commit and commit and commit. That's there's a weird way of kind of trying to play the bingo game, which is the booktube community. Or you just say screw it, and you just dip into what stuff you watch, people's interesting videos without having actually read the books. That is also completely cool. God, I'm just going off and off and off here. What I think, though, for me, versus all the the planning and stuff like that, because plans are wonderful. You make them, and then they just sail right by, just like deadlines. I think for me, the thing that I would like to focus on in 2023 is just my reading time. I think about, at the moment, when I read at lunchtime, and I read at bedtime during the weekdays. And on the weekends, it's one of those things of, there's kind of a rush, that I get off work, so there's suddenly all the things that need to get done, all the chores and everything like that. And what I don't give myself, and I do think this is like a gift to myself, is just like saying, all right, give yourself a hunk of time just to sit down and read. The times that I can sit down and read for a couple of hours, just solid, straight, that I come out of that feeling really good. That helps me reset my mind. That is, there's people who are non-readers, that might seem like a hard thing. I think that's a challenge or something like that. But it's like, I know for myself, that is like, that recharges me. That puts me in a place where I feel better mentally about myself. Yeah, I feel better mentally. So I think that what my very, very kind of tiny, very humble, very, maybe it doesn't seem that ambitious goal is that I write in the mornings. That's why I don't read in the mornings. But what I'm thinking is I will continue doing my writing on weekdays. You know, it's a part of, oh, get this done, and then I'm going to be getting to work after. I'll be getting to work after to do this video. Is to say on the weekends, it's like, okay, on the weekends I'm going to take a break from writing in the mornings, and I'm just going to take the morning to read. It's like get up early and just read a good couple of hours each day. Which it's like you're thinking, it's like, oh well, that's, you know, four weekends, you know, 8 hours each weekend. It's like, well, it adds up. That would be, you know, good sustained solid reading. There is that would I think make a big difference to my reading life. And you know what I'm going to read. Well, I guess I've sort of outlined there some of the things that I'm going to read, and you can see how it just kind of snowballs, and suddenly you're just reading all the time. Funny that, with a reader. But yeah, I just like, I think that'll be what I'll do for, that's my main reading plan. God, such a long video just for me to say I'm going to read more this year. But I need to kind of get through that. I need to get through all the pressures that you put on yourself when you look at fellow readers who are just shooting ahead. It's like, okay, well, yeah, but that's not me. And you know, watching different people talk about very radically different experiences of reading is a good way of kind of reinforcing that and saying, look, I'm not Criminale, I'm not MJ, I'm me. I'm not Steve God, nobody is Steve Donahue. Steve Donahue is just the mutant child of the world. He doesn't sleep and he doesn't wear pants. But and we can't, you know, Michael K. Vaughan, we just won't even talk about. But all of that is to say that I'm just going to try and read more because there's so much to read and so little time. So, you know, trying. Hopefully, this won't be the year that I'm dead. I'm completely rambling. This video is completely silly. All right, completely dumb. All right, I've been Jay. More videos later.